So, ladies and gentlemen, we have two beautiful personality with us, and we are really privileged to being a part of this particular family. Yes, we are talking about the Larsen Global, and the person you are going to listen to today, they are none other than the founder people of Larsen Global. Welcome, Collette ma'am, to our particular interaction session. So basically, ma'am, we just wanted to know about your journey first. How did you interact with USANA? How did you start your journey with USANA?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting us on today. I'm honored to be able to talk to you, Shyam, to Dilip, am I saying that correctly? And Viru,
Yes.
our leaders there in India, the leaders of Larsen Global in India. I'm absolutely honored to be talking with you today and hope that you'll spread this video far and wide to people that are interested, because I'm here to tell you, you are in for an incredible journey. So let me take you back about 30 years ago. Yes, 30 years ago. You know, when I found USANA, I realized I'd found, well, it's changed my life in every possible way. And I knew pretty early on that I would be in USANA for life. In fact, I would say I'm not in USANA, USANA is in me, because it changed my life so dramatically. But the way I got involved, it's quite an interesting story. My brother knew Dr. Myron Wentz. Now, you've heard of Dr. Wentz, our founder of USANA, just an incredible human being. And he was telling me about this amazing scientist who had developed these incredible products. And the reason he developed them was very personal to him, because he lost his father. He was only 17 years old when his father died of heart disease. And then later, his mother, when she was only, and he was only 17 years old at the time. And then later, his mother passed away from cancer. And he watched people in his own family dying of degenerative disease. And he got his PhDs in microbiology and immunology. He started a company called Gold Laboratories. And what they did, they put human cells into petri dishes, and they had to have very, very healthy cells in order to develop these test kits. And one day, it's kind of a long story, and you'll hear it as you get involved with USANA. But one day, it occurred to him that the cells, he was feeling tired himself, and he's going, why am I feeling this? Why am I so tired? And why is my brain so foggy? When I know how to grow perfectly, just absolutely pristine human cells in a laboratory dish, why can't I do that for my own body? So that was the kind of the light bulb moment that made him want to develop these nutritional products for our own cells in our own bodies. Well, I was a single mother with 5 children, and my 2 youngest daughters had been born with a chronic degenerative disease called cystic fibrosis. It was a terminal disease and still is, although the life expectancy has greatly improved. But I knew from the time that they were diagnosed just as tiny babies that I needed to give their bodies, because with cystic fibrosis, the body doesn't metabolize food or vitamins or minerals very well. So my doctors would always say, get them on the best nutritional products you can find. So I'd already been on a search for wonderful nutritional products. Well, in August of 1993, this was shortly after USANA started, my youngest daughter, Lexi, who, by the way, has since passed away, but she had undergone a double lung transplant, and she was in a medically induced coma trying to save her life. And I was basically living at the emergency room at the hospital in intensive care. She was in there. She was in a medically induced coma for almost 3 months. Well, this brother of mine had been telling me for over a year, about a year and a half, about this incredible scientist, about these amazing products. Just every time he'd call me to check on me, he'd launch into this big, talk about USANA, like, Collette, you've got to get the girls on these products. And then he'd talk about the business, and this business is just amazing. People are making money every week, and he would go on and on. But Shyam, I'm sure that you can imagine, in the situation I was in as a single mother with 5 children. By the way, Dax is my oldest son on that, but this was 30 years ago. So I just had so much on my plate that the idea of a business, even though I was absolutely financially destitute, and I figured I would have to take out bankruptcy. I don't know if that translates into India, but I knew I was going to lose everything. But I kind of didn't care. All I cared about was keeping my daughter alive. So even though my brother talked to me, I just kept pushing him away. Like, I just don't have time for this right now. Well, one night, I'd literally been at the hospital all day long. My beautiful daughter was in a coma. I got home around midnight, and again, this brother called me. And he launched in again about how great USANA was. And Collette, you could be making so much money. And at one point, Shyam, he said, Collette, this is the goose that laid the golden egg. And for some reason, that just, I don't know, the triviality of that when my daughter was dying was just too much. And I just started crying and I couldn't control my emotions. And he kept saying, I'm sorry. What did I say? I'm so sorry. And I couldn't control my emotions. Well, we finally hung up. And, he hopped on a plane the next morning. He lived in Salt Lake City. And he flew to San Diego where I lived. And when I got to the hospital the next morning, he was there. He'd caught the early morning flight. And I'll never forget this, Shyam. It's just, I think there's a lesson here that I'll share with you in a minute. Because he put his arms around me and he said, Collette, can you forgive me? I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Forget USANA as a business. I understand now. I mean, when he got to the hospital, they let him scrub and put the hat and gloves and boots on and the robe, and they let him go into my daughter Lexi's little cubicle, where at that time she had over 50 tubes and wires going into her body. She was on a heart-lung machine. She was on a ventilator. And he was able to spend about 15 minutes in with her. And when he came out, he was a changed man. And he said, please forgive me. Forget USANA as a business. But we're going to get Charlie, my other daughter, who, by the way, during this time, she had the same disease and she was spiraling downhill to the point where the doctors wanted me to put her on the double lung transplant list as well. So we both cried. We held each other. We cried. And a few days later, a big box landed on my doorstep. And I opened it up, and here were all these USANA products. So that is how I got involved. I mean, he just took it upon himself to sign me up and send me these products so that I could start my other daughter, Charlie, on these products in the hopes that it would, extend her life. So the lesson for me is, even though USANA, and you will all find this, they are the finest products on the planet. You just cannot there's better products developed by, we have, I don't know how many hundreds of scientists we have on staff, but you'll see pictures. There's so many scientists working on these products. And in addition to that, the finest products, I don't think there's a more fair compensation plan on the planet. And one of the reasons I can say this to you, and I see you, Dilip, up there, and Viru and Shyam, is that you can actually make more than we do. I'm 71. You're way younger than I am. At some point, you'll be making more in USANA than I do. There's not too many companies that can say that. And I've actually been recruited by other companies where they've offered to pay me money to come to other companies and everything, because they'll give me like this signing bonus. And I've never been interested in that. I love that at Larsen Global, we can sponsor someone who will actually make more money than we do, depending on how long you work and how hard you want to work and how successful you are in networking. So even though USANA has the finest products, the finest compensation plan, the thing that really made a difference for me is when my brother put all that aside and looked at me as a mother, a desperate mother who needed help. And he met me where I was. And so I always say it's more than the product. It's more than the compensation plan. It's more than the money. It's the people that make USANA so special. And if you will all remember that and approach people where they are, look into their hearts, meet their needs. That, I believe, is what has made Larsen Global so successful. We've always operated our business, and when I brought my sons in as my partners, they understood that we were going to build our business with heart. Absolutely with heart. Okay, so that's how I got involved. And in fact, my brother will often say, you've never paid me back for that business center that I purchased for you. And I go, I never will, because that would ruin the story. So he actually helped me get involved. Now, he provided us the products for a few months. And sure enough, my daughter, Charlie, who, as I said, they wanted to put on she was only 15 years old at the time. She's now 44. And she, the doctors had given her less than a year to live. So that was back in 1994. And here she is, 44 years old, a mother. She has had a double lung heart transplant. She's been on the products every day since that fateful day that box landed on my doorstep. So anyway, so he provided us with the products for several months. And then one day I got another call from him. And by now they'd weaned my daughter Lexi off life support. She was home, although she was paralyzed from the waist down. So she was in a wheelchair on oxygen and all this, but he called me and said, Collette, I've been sending you these products, but do you know, if you shared these products with just a few of your girlfriends, a few friends, you'd be able to make $100 US a month, and that would pay for your auto order. And so I felt like he'd already been so generous with me. And so at that point I said, okay, send me the application. I actually signed the application, and I became a real distributor. I mean, he'd just been sending me the products, And so I became a distributor, and I knew I had 1 month to make $100 so I could stay active on my auto order. So I had my little daughter Lexi in a wheelchair with her oxygen tank. My other daughter, who was starting to feel better, I was overwhelmed, but I did buy 2 cassette tapes. This is how long ago this was. I bought 2 cassette tapes that my brother had shared with me, and I had a product catalog, and I would take that around to neighbors and things, and I ended up signing up a few people, and like about 4 people, and they ordered from me. I think, honestly, to tell you the truth, I think they ordered because, who wouldn't order from a mother who was wheeling her daughter up in a wheelchair and saying, these are incredible products. Would you please give them a try? So they did. And sure enough, like 2 days before my auto order was due, I went out to my mailbox. And Dax loves this story because I called him. I was so excited. There was an envelope there, and up in the corner it said USANA, and I opened it up. And there it was, $100, which at the time to me was so much. And I called Dax, my son, and I said, Dax, it works. It works. I put in the work. I got a check. I can pay for my auto order. I can keep Charlie on these products. And Dax said, how much was it? And I said, it was $100. And he said, because I told him that when I opened it, I sat down on the curb in front of my home, and I just looked at that check and I just started crying. I'm a pretty emotional person anyway, but I was so thrilled that what my brother had explained to me, and I'd done it and it had worked. And Dax said on the phone to me, he goes, Mom, if I'd worked for an entire month as hard as you have and got $100, I'd sit down and cry too. But the next week, Shyam, I got another $100. And then the following week, I got $200. And it just started growing from there. Now, I got to a point that I thought, okay, rather than just going around my neighborhood, I want to share this with more people. And so I thought, I don't know anything about this industry. Nothing. I'd gone to the library and checked out a couple books on network marketing. So I was reading, but I had no experience. I graduated from high school, but I hadn't gone on to college. As I told you, I was financially destitute. I had no savings, no experience, no references or anything. So I thought, I've got to find someone in the San Diego region who is doing USANA. So that I can find out where they're doing meetings, presentations, because I didn't know how to explain the compensation plan. All I knew is that it was working because I'd been putting people in, but I couldn't really wrap my head around it. So I thought, I've got to find a leader. I've got to find a leader. So I called USANA corporate and I said, this is Collette Larsen. I'm here in San Diego. I need to find out who the leaders are in San Diego so that I can send my friends and their friends, to a presentation. And she said, oh, well, thank you for calling. Let me do some checking and I'll get back to you tomorrow. So I was so excited. I thought, okay, I'm going to find a leader and I'm going to funnel people to that leader and then I'll sign them up. And, I just had this vision in my head of what could happen. Well, the next day the phone rang and I picked it up and this sweet customer service representative said, is this Collette? And I said, yes. And she said, you're the one who called about who the leaders are in San Diego? And I said, yes. And then she was quiet for a second and she said, you're it. No. You don't understand. I don't know anything about this. But honestly, Shan, those two words changed my life because it's like she placed this mantle on my shoulders. You're it. And I took those words and went, okay, it's going to be me. Why not me? Why not me? I've got this story that I can share. So then I started having meetings in my home and sometimes people would come, other times they wouldn't come, but my kids would sit there on the couch. I had, 5 children and I would do the presentation over and over for them so that I got comfortable sharing the Dr. Wentz story, sharing the story about the science. I learned how to draw the circles, I got a whiteboard. I did it. And now, if you were to ask me, what happened with that decision you made over 30 years ago, pretty much everyone in California is in our downline. In fact, I would say probably 3/4 of the USANA distributors in the world. Now, I don't know for sure, but I would guess. Dax, what would you say? I don't know. I'm going to say at least 60, maybe 70% of all the distributors in all the markets are part of Larsen Global. It's just amazing what has happened. All from that woman saying to me, you're it. Now, we didn't just sit back. We rolled up our sleeves. We went to work. Sham, I'm doing all the talking. You might have some specific questions, but I do want to tell you that I want to share one other quick story, and then you can ask some questions. I remember going to the convention where Dr. Wentz announced that USANA was going to open up the Australian market. I'd sort of inadvertently helped open up Canada just because we didn't really announce Canada. I mean, USANA did. We just started doing meetings up north of the border and sort of it just opened up naturally. But then there was this convention where Dr. Wentz said, we're going to open up Australia. And I went, I remember being in high school, being 17 years old, 16 or 17, watching, there was a special where they were building in the Sydney Harbor, building the Opera House. And I remember thinking to my 17-year-old self, someday I'm going to see the Opera House. Someday I'm going to go there. And so when they announced Australia, I went, oh my gosh, that would be incredible. But here I was, a single mother, by now my youngest daughter had passed away, and that's a whole nother story. But I still had these 4 children, and I went back to, we were staying there at the Marriott, went back to our hotel after that particular session at the USANA convention. And the kids were all playing. I still just remember they were all teasing each other. They were young. And I remember Dax saying, Mom, we should just pick up and move to Australia. Dax, my son, said that to me. And I remember looking at him. And then another 2 words that changed our lives. I said, why not? And we did. I took my kids. We moved to Australia. We lived there for almost a year. Then later on, we moved to Hong Kong. And then later on, we moved to Korea. So as a family, and I always included my children, I wanted it to be a family operation. And they were so supportive of me. They were just my cheerleaders. I'm getting kind of emotional. Sorry. But they always were like, Mom, you can do this, And I wanted them to be part of it. And to now have my sons as my partners is just the joy of my life. Because they operate USANA, Larsen Global, just the way I wanted it to be run, finding incredible leaders like the 3 of you. And somehow we just seem to attract good people. and then to see these markets open up around the world. And as I said to you on a couple of calls we've been on, I thought my traveling days were kind of done, but India, I don't know. I just think it would be awesome once you're all up and running. I would love to travel to India. It's wonderful to meet you over Zoom. And Dilip and I have been communicating on social media and everything. That's wonderful. But I would love to be able to see you in person. Okay, as you can see, I get very, very passionate about USANA. So I'm going to let you ask some specific questions so that I just quit telling all my stories.
Ma'am, it was really interesting. And whatever you said with us, we just understand one thing, that every successful story, there is a painful journey behind it. And
Oh,
how it was going through. And we really appreciate about your journey, ma'am, the way you have started the business without having any kind of experience in direct selling business, how you started learning by visiting to library and keep reading the books, and the way you spent nearly 1 year in Australia, and Hong Kong, Canada, Malaysia, Korea,
into
really
the
phenomenal.
Philippines. Yes, we've Taiwan. I mean, I literally, I've been able to travel the world. I mean, literally, except India. I still need to go to India.
Soon, ma'am, soon. And we are actually, ma'am, probably we are planning the moment we will have a USANA live in Indian market. We want you three of you to be there, ma'am.
That would be a dream come true. It would absolutely be a dream come true. Cheyenne, going back to what you said this is something I really want to stress to our entire Larsen Global India team. When I started in USANA, I had a high school education, so no college. I don't have any degrees. I did have a high school education. I was a single mother with 5 children. I was almost $1 million in medical debt. It took me years, and the insurance, of course, kicked in and paid a good share of that, but it took me years to get out of debt. So I was deeply in debt. I had no business references. I had no business experience. I had no venture capital, anything like that. I had no network marketing experience. But I like to say with USANA, when I signed my name to that original application that my brother sent me, that was back when we did everything through the mail and all of that. It's so easy now online, but he sent me an application. I read it. I signed my name there on that application. And I like to say, when I signed my name, the impossible became the inevitable. And the reason I say that is because USANA, I had this whole company behind me. And so when people ask, what trainings did you use and all, I just used USANA corporate as my partner. They provided the tools. They trained me. I used their catalogs. Back in those days, we had a newspaper called the Health and Freedom newspaper. Dax, do you remember how many newspapers? We would order those by the hundreds, and we would send those out to people, or I would carry those around with me. And it was a regular sized newspaper. I mean, you hardly see newspapers anymore, but when people would ask for my business card, because it had our information on it, I'd stamped our information on it, and I'd circled different articles and asked them to read different articles about the science. But people would say, well, do you have a business card? And I'd say, I do. And I would pull out of my purse. I had this large purse. I'd pull out that newspaper and hand it to them. And they'd go, is this your business card? This is a pretty big business card. I always loved it when they would say that, because I'd say, it's a big opportunity. And so I use those. So whatever tools USANA created for us, those are the tools we used. And, I started, my first goal, as I told you, my first goal was to make $100 a month, just so I could, pay for my auto order. And then I thought, what if I could make $100 a week? Oh my goodness, I could start paying off my bills, getting out of debt, and then it got to be, what if I could make $1,000 a week, and so it just grew incrementally. And then I started dreaming, like, what if I could take my kids around the world? What if we could live in foreign countries? What if my kids could all go to college? All these things that started, and what I would say to to my children, and I will say to you, and that's a dream that's too big. Because there were people that are saying, you're dreaming so big. I'd say a dream that's too big is just the right size. And so I encourage you to dream big. USANA is a vehicle, depending on how much time and effort you want to put in. Again, I never would tell people like, oh, this is a get rich quick or anything like that. We don't front load people. We don't make claims that we can't back up. But what I would say to people is, if you will roll up your sleeves and go to work, if you will put time and effort into this, if you will meet people where they are, and oftentimes people would say to me, well, do you lead with the product, or do you lead with the business? The product or the business? That was a question I would get all the time. And I'd say, I lead with the person. I lead with the person. And that can only happen if you have these heart-to-heart conversations with people and find out where they are. And what I have actually found out about that is that most people will say they're more interested in the product, but in reality, most of them actually really do want to make money as well. But I would teach them how, by using the product and sharing the science behind the product, sharing Dr. Wentz's story, sharing my story, I would say, until you have a story of your own, you can tell mine. It's true. Here's my daughter, Charlie. I mean, she's had a double lung heart transplant in 2012. So almost it's been 13 years. No, 2012. What is it? That's 13 years ago, I guess.
11 years.
11 years ago. Sorry. Yeah, I'm adding one. See, you don't even have to be good at math to do this on a business. You just don't have to be that great at math. But here she is, just thriving, living this incredible life. And if you were to ask her, we have to be very careful about product claims. But what Charlie, my daughter, would say to you, my beautiful daughter, whose life has been extended dramatically, she would say, I know when I feed the cells in my body everything they need. The body is miraculous. If it gets what it needs, miracles can happen. And that's what she would say to you and to our Larsen Global India team. In fact, I'd love to bring her to India. You'd love to meet her. She's the USANA miracle girl. Every time Dr. Wentz sees Charlie, he puts his arms around her and hugs her. By the way, I got to see Dr. Wentz just a couple of weeks ago. It's been about a month ago now. I went to the convention in Salt Lake City. And while we were there, Dr. Wentz celebrated his 82nd birthday. But when he came out and he saw me, he came up and took my hand and kissed it and gave me a hug. And I just feel like, I always tell Dr. Wentz, we're cellmates. I don't know if that translates into India, but he always laughs when I say that to him. We're cellmates because we both love the cell. And he has changed, this man, this scientist, this wonderful human being has just changed my life so incredibly. I never go a day without taking my USANA. I mean, over 30 years, every single day. And, I had my 71st birthday not too long ago. And honestly, I'm out hiking, kayaking, playing, loving my dog, loving my husband, loving my kids, playing with my grandkids. I feel like it's given me this passion for life. And honestly, I see that in the friends that I brought in. I brought in so many friends, my age. Even at convention, there was a whole bunch of us that are now in our 70s that are pioneers in USANA. And, we're just doing pretty dang good. Who knows? It's not, it's not maybe it is the fountain of youth. We're not going to live forever. But the whole idea is for every day of our life to be full of life. I felt like I was doing more than making a living. I was building a life for me and my family. Again, I'm just talking so much. Do any of the rest of you have any specific questions for me?
Ma'am, you have covered up, I think, almost all the things which I really wanted to ask. But we are also experiencing the same, ma'am, the way you said, USANA itself, they have their tools and education system, because in Indian market it's not been launched yet. Even I can say we are at the pre-launch phase, but company already started the training session. They start providing the tools, the creatives, the PDF. So we are really privileged about the education policies what USANA said. So, and ma'am, we just wanted to know about Charlie. We just wanted to know, is Charlie associated as a business partner with USANA or not?
Charlie?
Yes, and what is her current rank if she is working with USANA?
Oh, yes, yes. Charlie is, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say Charlie. Yes, she's been on the products every day of her life. She and her husband, Ryan, are gold directors in USANA. They got to the point where they were making gold director income, and that was where she wanted to be. So, yes, they still receive income from USANA. They're on the products every day. Charlie and Ryan have become foster parents. So they have one son. Charlie was never supposed to be able to have children, but she did give birth, which again was just a miracle. And Dr. Wentz was very helpful through that whole process. But he is now 17 years old. My grandson Harrison. But then Charlie, after her double lung heart transplant, she wanted to give back. So she and her husband have become foster parents, and they have 3 little foster sons. So she's a very, very busy mother. And of course, yes, she's on USANA for life. And, she's got an incredible story to tell. But because of their fostering, and Ryan is a business analyst, they haven't gone on to build beyond gold directors. So they're gold directors, but very proud gold directors.
Specifically, I can say, once you start your journey with any of the organization or any of the industry, if you work consistently and with a lot of dedication, the way you can see Collette Larsen is the one of the supreme personality of USANA. I might be not wrong by saying these words, because she is representing the current position of 10-star diamond director.
Yes, we're 10-star, and we've been top income earners in USANA, 13 or 14 years.
13 distributed years.
13 years. We've won the Dr. Wentz Vision Award. We've pretty much won all the awards you can get in USANA. And it's because we've been consistent. I mean, I've been with USANA over 30 years. That consistency really makes a difference. Even people who at some point went, I think I'm going to jump to another company or whatever, often they'll come back to USANA because of the integrity, because of the fact that first of all, the products, they want to stay on the products, but the company, as you just said, Shyam, you see already, you're in pre-launch, but USANA is already doing trainings and providing you with materials even during pre-launch. By the way, pre-launch is such an important time because the excitement is there. And if people can get situated in how they want to build before it even launches, then on day one, you can start earning income like day one. It's so exciting. We did that in the markets that we helped open. We'd spend 2 or 3 months kind of building our organization, training, using whatever USANA had for us. And when people can start earning income right after launch, they're going to stay with you. Even the ones that say, I'm just getting involved for the product. I'm telling you what, when those checks start coming, they want to stay on board with you.
Ma'am, because we are blessed that we are part of your family. So definitely people will gonna stay with us. So Mr. Dilip, is there anything you wanted to ask Collette ma'am or Mr. Dax?
Yeah, hi sir. First of all, I would really appreciate again. We are a part of Larsen family, and thank you so much, Collette ma'am. And we are really grateful that you have shown your confidence on we people, and you have imparted us special authorities and the support system to build to take Larsen Global at greater heights in India also. So thank you so much again, ma'am. And I really appreciate your energy in this days again, because what an energy you carry throughout the session and in this life. So, ma'am, obviously you have covered almost everything, whatever we were just wanted to ask you. How brilliantly you put every aspect. How did you start and how did you sustain? And irrespective of so many different opportunities in the market, obviously you would have also come across of different opportunities, but you sustain with USANA. So this is your loyalty, this is your integrity. So we must learn all these things from you as a mentor. We would really appreciate you, ma'am. So thank you so much. And yeah, uh, I don't have a special questions to ask you. Actually, you have covered almost everything. But yes, so what would be your message to our aspiring team in India? Any message you would like to give us?
Okay, I think I've kind of covered. I think I've mentioned consistency. Okay, because you are going to have ups and downs. Let me tell you, Dilip, I remember the day, because I got $100, then $100, and then $200, and then I got $100. And I went, what? Why is it going backward? So I want you to understand, and I'm not even sure how the India compensation fund works, but there are going to be ups and downs. So do not get discouraged. Stay consistent. We always said, and maybe this would be one of the tips I would give you, do something to move your business forward every single day, except for one day. We always said, let's take one day off a week. That was our spiritual day, whether however you worship. We always felt like we needed one day to fill our own cup so we could go out and help fill everyone else's cup. So 6 days a week, we did something to move our business forward, whether it was making a phone call, doing a presentation, following up on a preferred customer. I loved to, and again, this is another tip that I mentioned already, is meet people where they are, get to know them. I actually had a little metal box with 6x9 cards in there. And everyone I approached, I would have their name there and the date that I met them or how I met them. And then I would write a little bit about them. Maybe they had a son in high school or whatever. And maybe their son was on the football team. So when there was an article in the newspaper about that son, I would cut it out and send it to them. And I wouldn't even talk business. I just would let them know that I was interested about their life. I would have their birth date on there. So I love to write cards. I would actually send personal cards. In fact, I was at a convention a few years ago, and Sterling Otteson, who was the very first distributor in USANA, stood up and he said, I want to share something with you. And he pulled out a card that I had sent him, congratulating him on going gold director. I had written him a personal card, and he held that up and he said, this is why Collette Larsen is the top distributor, because those personal touches. So meeting people where they are, heart-to-heart conversations. And as you get to know a lot of people, I didn't have the memory capacity to remember everything. So I would keep cards, and then I would go through those cards and like if I saw an article or anything or a birthday or just I'm thinking about you, to pick up the phone and call them. And don't always make it about business, because really these people are going to be lifelong friends. Do you know, I have people that are on auto order still to this day, over 30 years. They've been on auto order. They've never sponsored a person. They had no interest in building a business. Maybe they were already successful or whatever, but they're still on auto order because I still check in with them. How are you doing? Oh, here's a new product I want to tell you about. So things like that personal touch, the consistency. And then I guess my next thing would be, I'm going to be, another thing I'm going to say is the willingness to dream big. A dream that's too big is just the right size. I used to say, rather than, looking in a crystal ball, trying to, I just create the life you want. Go out there and create it. And like I said, that girl that said to me, you're it, that woman that said, you're it, something clicked in my brain. And I just went, okay, I can do this. Now, one more thing I'm going to tell you, just because I want to acknowledge the three of you. I do believe, and my sons will tell you that I really believe this. I believe in USANA and our USANA journey because we've wanted to build with integrity, because we put your interests over our interests. we've attracted leaders like the three of you. They find us, you find us. And I think there's a reason for that. I believe that there's an energy in the universe. I don't want to get all kind of woo-woo on you, but I do believe there's an energy in the universe that brings people together that are supposed to meet, that are supposed to collaborate. And I believe, Dilip, just even your messages to me, I could tell when you wrote to me, I went, I really like this guy. And I felt that way about Shyam the first time. I believe people are attracted to like-minded people with integrity. And I can tell already that you're going to be incredible leaders in USANA. And honestly, Dax and Zachary and I cannot wait to celebrate your success. We will be more excited about your success than we are about our own. That truly, we mean that. I remember the first year when someone I had sponsored made more money than I did. And again, I picked up the phone and called him and congratulated him. And he said, why are you congratulating me? And I said, I am more excited about this than you are, because the fact that I introduced you to this and it has changed your life. I also had a woman in Mexico who I told her the day that her check was bigger than mine, I would fly to Mexico City and do a meeting with her. And she called me and she said, Collette, my check was bigger than yours this week. I checked with USANA. I was so excited for her. I flew to Mexico. We've just become dear friends. So believe me when I say we are thrilled to have found you. We believe we've attracted you and possibly you've attracted us. And we're just so excited to be able to work with you. So thank you. Thank you. We're just honored. We're absolutely honored to be working with you.
Thanks a lot, Collette ma'am. And it's a pleasure to listen to you, because whenever we listen to you, we always learn something from you, because the experience you had and the experience you are giving to us. So that would certainly help us to build a bigger business in India also. So thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you, Shyam sir.
Really appreciated what you said, ma'am. We also believe that business might be fluctuated any of the time, but consistency is one of the most important part to keep us positive every other time. So thank you for the wonderful message, ma'am. Finally, Dilip sir, I think there is some noises coming from your side.
Okay, sir. I do.
There we
Fantastic. Go. So actually, ma'am, finally we just wanted to know journey from associate, now 10-star DD, the 10-star diamond director. So in a single word, you can say it is a proper strategy, proper execution.
Maybe there is some luck in that I found USANA, but because there are so many companies out there who make so many claims and then they're gone. I mean, the fact that you're getting involved with a company who has a 31-year track record, or 32, something like that. It was 1992 when it started. So that in and of itself should give you so much confidence. So maybe you're lucky to have found USANA, to have found Larsen Global, but it will be up to you. It will be your own commitment. It will be your own consistency. It will be keeping the dream alive in your head and letting it grow and stepping into all the possibility. It will be the fact that you will attract people to you that want to be with a company with integrity, and you will celebrate them. You will elevate them. And you're going to make so many friends. Honestly, when I was so emotional at convention this year. So, I mean, I gave out so many hugs. It's just like way more than a business. It is a family. When you talk about the Larsen Global family, Larsen Global India family, you'll find that tends to be true. These people will become lifelong friends to you. And I'm very, very excited about that for you. It is life-changing. And I should probably tell you, yes, I've gone from a single mother of 5, almost $1 million in debt, to a 10-star diamond. But, my lifestyle, I always put more emphasis on creating memories rather than acquiring things. And I think that's something that sets Larsen Global apart from other leaders in our industry, because you see the mansions and the diamonds, and I mean, this is my fancy diamond. It's just my beautiful wedding band. I've never gone in for all the stuff. Do you know that I drive a 2007 Lexus? Now I could have a 2023 Tesla or whatever. I could afford it, but I've just always, and as an example, we're taking all of our children, 28 of us. We're going for Thanksgiving this year. We're all going to Mexico. I've rented a large villa for all my children. I've got 17 grandchildren, 20 counting my 3 foster grandchildren. So 17 grandchildren, that's a lot. But we're all going to go to Mexico, spend 4 days just enjoying each other's company. Those are the things that USANA has changed my life in that way. It's allowed me to create memories with Dax doesn't even know this, but his oldest daughter, Sophie, is back in Washington, D.C., and she's flying to Boston. I was on the phone with her yesterday. She's flying to Boston she plays the clarinet, and she's going for Dax, what's that word? She's going to go
audition.
try out an audition. I can't remember that word. And so I was able to get her ticket for her yesterday. And she said, Grandma Coco, she calls me Grandma Coco, what do I owe you? And I went, nothing. This is on me. And to have the ability to be able to do things like that has just been, it's the best. It's the best to be able to share with my family, to be able to work with my sons, to have my wonderful sons as my partners, and to be able to try to spoil these grandkids. I can't spoil them. They're such good kids. They're unspoilable. But they've all grown up with USANA in their lives. And I think one of the things USANA has given them is this: I can be anything I want to be. What an attitude to give to our children and grandchildren. Like, if I'm willing to put the work in, I can do anything I want. And now that I see these little grandchildren of mine that all used to be, knee high, now they're in college and graduating from college, and I see them pursuing their lives, all of them on USANA, by the way. And I see they're dreamers. And I think that may be the greatest gift USANA has given me as a wife, as a mother, as a grandmother. And I'll soon probably be a great grandmother. It won't be that many more years, but what a legacy to leave. Health and this ability to, the sky's the limit. I was with one more quick story, Dax. I know you've got to go. One more quick story. Last night, I was over at my daughter's home, and my son-in-law and my daughter and their 2 sons. They've got 2 that are out of the house now. But we were reminiscing about my daughter, Chelsea. She went on a mission trip to Poland just as I was getting my USANA going, when it was really, I was kind of getting out of debt and things were, and she said, Mom, I'll never forget when I got back from Poland, you met me at the airport and you took me to dinner. And she said, during those 2 years I was gone, your USANA business had really grown. So we went out to dinner as a family. And, prior to her going, as I've said, I was this single mom with no money. And so when on the very rare occasions that would go out to dinner, my kids would say, what's the limit? What's the limit of what we can order? They were always looking on the right side of the menu. And I was always a little nervous about how much it was going to cost me. But Chelsea last night said, I'll never forget, Mom, that we sat down to dinner and I turned to you and I said, Mom, what's the limit? And you looked at me and you said, the sky. The sky's the limit. And she said, I knew then that my life had changed forever. So to be able to do those things with my children, with my grandchildren, to share this experience with Dax and with my son, Zachary, has just been, my life, I don't know. I don't have words. I'm just so grateful. And I'm so excited for you to experience the same in your lives, with your family. I hope 30 years from now, you're on who knows, it'll probably be teleporting or something 30 years from now, but that you'll be able to talk about your families, your children, your grandchildren, and say, I've left this legacy. If you can do that, your life will have been incredibly meaningful, incredibly successful. Okay, I've talked long enough, but how wonderful to see all 3 of you. I wish you all the best. I feel so confident in your abilities. Even what I've seen already, you're way ahead of where I was 30 years ago. The fact that you're already celebrating people just for signing up in the pre-launch, I'm extremely impressed with what you're doing, and so honored to have you as part of the Larsen Global family. Go Larsen Global India.
Thank you, ma'am. Fantastic. And we are really privileged to being a part of this family, as I always said. And ma'am, finally, we just wanted to know from your side, as we all know, USANA has already distributed $6 billion of commission to the entire associate till now. So we just wanted to know what is the contribution of Larsen Global. How much did you earn till now from USANA?
Oh,
Since
gosh.
since 1994 to till now, approximately or tentatively, you can say.
Oh, Dax, would you know? I mean, it's been tens of millions. I don't really even know. Honestly, that's not even that important to me, to tell you the truth. I remember the first year that I made over $1 million. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. But, we have made obvious, and, USANA used to do that. They would say there was the $1 million club, and then there was the $5 million club. And then they quit doing that because, many people, like I said, I've got people in our organization who've never made any money, who never tried to, and so they kind of took the focus off how much but I will tell you that we have made tens of millions of dollars. I don't know the exact amount. How much of that 6 billion? We haven't made $1 billion, but we've made plenty. But here's the important thing: that the fact that there's people who have made more than we have, that we sponsored, that's more exciting to me than the amount that we've made. But yes, we have made, if we were to go back and add it all up, which by the way, I've never done. But it would be tens of millions for sure. And this is from a woman who was making $7 an hour, so hey, I'm happy.
Journey from $100 to millions of dollars, quite amazing, ma'am. Really amazing.
Crazy, yeah.
So once again, ma'am, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Dax, for being with us.
My license plate on my Lexus, it says Mama USANA on my license plate, and that's what people call me, is Mama USANA. So you're with Mama USANA, Larsen Global India.
So amazing. Biru sir, is there anything? Biru sir, कुछ पूछना चाहोगे मैडम को आप? And Biru sir, आपको voice आ रही है? Actually, there is another person, ma'am. Surprisingly, you will get to know that I personally belongs from east part of India. Mr. Dilip belongs from the central zone of India, and Mr. Biru belongs from the west part of India.
Oh wow!
तो Biru sir, कुछ पूछना चाहोगे मैडम को?
हाँ सर, मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि बहुत सालों के बाद जो है इंडिया लॉन्चिंग होना जा रहा है, और आप लोग कब से इंतजार कर रहे थे कि इंडिया में लॉन्चिंग होना चाहिए, और क्या होप है आप लोगों की कि इंडिया में जैसे ही लॉन्च होगा तो आपका क्या होप रहेगा कि आने वाले 3-4 साल में जो है क्या किस नज़र से देख रहे हो उसाना हेल्थ साइंस इंडिया को?
Ma'am, as Mr. Viru said, India is one of the most potential market at the present moment because the population, we can say, is 1.4 billion.
That's
so
incredible.
how you are seeing Indian market for upcoming 4 to 5 years of journey? And
USANA will be, India will be USANA's top market. How can it not be with that kind of a population? That's just incredible. And as I watched this in the Philippines. USANA is literally changing the economic landscape in the Philippines. So many people are getting involved, and they're starting to make money. And then now it's considered the #1 company in the Philippines. Maybe it's the #1 network marketing company. It's way up there. And I predict. I always say, don't predict your future, create it. But I will predict on this that USANA India will be USANA's largest market. I don't see how it cannot be with the population that you have and the need that people have for these products and for this economic opportunity. It's just that, you know, it's marrying everything that you need, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be phenomenal.
एब्सोल्युटली मैम, एब्सोल्युटली। वीरू सर, मैडम का कहना है इंडिया सबसे बड़ा मार्केट बनने वाला है। मैम का वही प्रेडिक्शन तो नहीं कर रहे, मैम कहते हैं फ्यूचर प्रेडिक्ट नहीं किया जाता है, बनाया जाता है मेहनत करके या फिर प्रॉपर एग्जीक्यूशन करके। तो वीरू सर कुछ पूछना चाहोगे मैडम को आप?
नहीं बस इतना ही।
ओके जी, ओके, थैंक यू सो मच। हाँ दिलीप सर कुछ कह रहे थे आप?
Shyam sir, I would say a plan we have in our mind. So we are going to execute it very soon, and as soon as we get the official launch of USANA in India, so certainly we would have a very wonderful team, wonderful associates, and whatever your expectations are for the Indian market, so we would definitely make it, ma'am. So we are just going to call you to address the Indian market and to come at India. So please be ready.
Okay, that sounds great. I would love to make that happen.
Dilip sir, Dilip sir, I just want, we need to take on target. We have to create nearly 200 director under Larsen Global. Then we will call ma'am and Dex.
There you go.
Certainly we can, sir. Certainly we can.
200 directors. Should be our ultimate target within the period of 1 year, and we will make a plan accordingly how we are going to execute it.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. That's just wonderful. And will you please do me a favor at the corporate office? Thank them for me. Tell them Mama USANA thanks them for all they're doing to support you, and let them know that you're part of Team Larsen Global India. So because they would know me, I think they would know us.
Ma'am, they knows you very well. Not only Indian management, Mr. Dan is also aware about that we are part of Larsen Global. Mr. Dan is also aware about it.
Yeah, good. Okay, I think that's about it. Dax has to run. We've kind of gone. Oh dear, you're late, Dax.
Sorry, Mr. Dax. We hold you for a longer period.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. It's great.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Collette, ma'am.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm so excited.
It's so good to hear both of you all the time, because you know, always we are learning something from the successful peoples like you. Every word, every sentence, every message is really means a lot for us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled. It's such a delight. Okay, we're looking forward to great things. So we'll see you again soon, I hope. I'm proud of you. All right, we'll see you all later. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks again, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.
Too.